It started as a harmless experiment between friends, a group of brilliant scientists trying to unlock the secrets of eternal life. We were young, ambitious, and drunk on the promise of what our research could achieve. Immortality was no longer the stuff of myths and legends. With the advance of modern science, we truly believed it was within our grasp. The breakthrough came late one night, the product of endless trial and error. We gathered in the lab, equal parts elation and apprehension, as we prepared to test the newly synthesized compound, the culmination of decades of research. We called it Ambrosia, after the food and drink of the gods. It was supposed to stop cellular degeneration and regenerate damage. Initial trials on lab animals were extremely promising. Their cells showed no signs of aging, even after prolonged periods. It was time for the next step. I volunteered to be the first human test subject. We diluted a small amount of ambrosia with saline and injected it directly into my bloodstream. The effects were immediate and electrifying. I felt stronger, sharper, more energized than I had in years. My senses were heightened, as if I had shed decades from my body. I has no doubt that ambrosia worked. For the first time, immortality seemed graspable, and not just a fool's dream. The coming weeks were a blur of rigorous testing and fine-tuning. We took every precaution, monitoring myself and the lab animals closely for side effects. There were none. If anything, ambrosia only seemed to improve and regenerate our bodies with repeated use. Its effects were undeniable. While my colleagues aged, I stayed in peak physical condition. We isolated the key components that allowed such cellular regeneration and perfected the formula. Ambrosia was complete and proven safe for human trials. The dream of conquering death was ours. The results astonished the world. Ambrosia reversed aging and granted youthful vitality to every person who took it. Our small biotech firm couldn't produce it fast enough to meet demand. Governments and corporations were eager to weaponize it. The compound was worth billions, and we were celebrities in scientific circles. Then the grim side effects began creeping in. Reports came back of tumors, organ damage, and perverse formations in those who took large doses of ambrosia or used it long-term. The tumors were unlike anything doctors had seen, dense, twisting masses of flesh that could form anywhere and were nearly impossible to remove. Organs also exhibited bizarre regenerative effects. Livers regrew into misshapen globs of tissue. Hearts sprouted ancillary chambers and valves like mutated plants. The cellular regeneration we had triggered was uncontrolled and catastrophic. Bodies broke down into grotesque patchworks of overgrown and amorphous organs. We had our glimpse of immortality, but the human form was never meant to endure it. I refused to believe it at first. How could my crowning achievement backfire so horribly? But when I began to experience the side effects myself, reality came crashing down. It started as fatigue and migraines. Then the growths formed, hideous, spongy polyps sprouting from my flesh like mushrooms after rain. My limbs became swollen and tormented by neurological pain as nerves regrew chaotically in parallel bundles. By then, it was too late to halt the use of ambrosia. The other scientists were also suffering similar fates as their bodies revolted against them. We attempted to destroy the remaining ambrosia, but vials of it were missing. The compound had already leaked onto the black market and spread too far to contain. Soon, it would be refined and produce even worse side effects. In the populace, our dream had warped into a nightmare. There was only one solution left. My colleagues were all agreeable. even enthusiastic when I proposed it. The irony was not lost on us that we would use our profane creation to end our lives on our terms, rather than submit to the torment of twisted immortality. Ambrosia's regenerative powers would allow us to avoid the prolonged suffering of traditional suicide methods. It was distastefully poetic. We injected ourselves with massive overdoses of the vile substance, enough that it would trigger a cytokine storm and rapidly overwhelm our systems. Then we stepped outside to wait under the stars, as we had done all those years ago when this had started as a simple dream. Within minutes, the torturous side effects surged through us. We collapsed as our brains were bombarded with enough signals of tissue damage and regrowth to shut down our vital functions. Mercifully, death came quickly. Our bodies will likely regenerate and linger in aberrant form, kept alive in a hideous mockery of our dream. But our minds at least will be at peace, knowing that the scourge of Ambrosia will haunt the world no longer. The foolish yearning for immortality will die with us and our cursed creation. Our only hope now is that humanity learns from our hubris and understands that eternal life comes with a cost we were never meant to bear. In the end, Ambrosia granted no miracles. It only proved that mortality makes us precious, fleeting, and human. Perhaps that is its only gift. The renewed wisdom to accept our fate and savor the beauty of life's impermanence. We can only hope that is enough.